Under each tower is a pipe, 1,016 feet long, built to carry the water under the dam to the water wheels which will be placed in the powerhouse on the other side. The iron grids at the base of each tower are placed there to stop trash from entering these pipes.
When you see the size of those giant towers and those pipes, you realize the magnificence and scale of this project. Many lives were affected by the building of this dam. Not only the people who worked on the project, but the people who lived in this area that's now covered by water. Gene and I recently talked to 3 people who originally lived here, and we asked them to share their memories with us.
Well, one of the most vivid ones, Sunday afternoons we spent coming down to where they were going to build the dam that my daddy said could not stop the Saluda River. Coming down to see what progress they had made during the week. We saw these big, they called them conduits, these big towers out here.
Yeah, the ones that we just saw.
Yeah, but we saw them on the ground and never dreamed that they could be moved over into the riverbed, particularly. Then, of course, the other thing was having to move from where we lived. My father did not like the sand land. This was all red clay. And it was very difficult for him to think that he was going to have to farm somewhere other than the red clay. But we had to move, and I lost my girlfriends, kept one boyfriend that moved on to Lexington.
Okay, so that's where you moved from the lake bed.
6 miles from where we lived, we moved out.
Okay.
Mr. Wessinger, you know about as much on the Lake Murray Dam as anyone that I have ever met. What impressed you the most about the construction of the dam?
The magnitude of it. The magnitude. It was something unforeseen in the Dutch Fork area. The colossal dimensions of the total project. The number of workmen and employees, the number of subcontractors. Arundel Corporation out of Baltimore had the general contract for building the dam. W.S. Barstow Management had the overall supervision and had to do with the clearing of the building of the spillway and the powerhouse. Then there were many subcontractors, but it was something that was colossal. They had many steam shovels, mechanical shovels, and what they call little railroad dinkies and cars, and the dam was built in tiers, trestle after trestle, and there are trestles in the dam there as the dam progressed in vertical size. My father was the physician here at the project. They had a hospital here. His office was first right there at the end of the dam, and then it was moved down to the hospital. And he died during the construction period before it was finished. But another thing that was most impressive in a negative way is the premature impoundment of the waters due to a fantastic rainfall that we had up in the Greenville area, Greenwood, and the water came up in September of 1929 at such a rapid pace that people weren't prepared, and as Mrs. Rensjourner said, they had to move out rapidly, and some had no place to go, and they were trying to harvest their crops because it was 12 to 15 months that the lake came up prematurely.
Wow, that must have been an incredible rainstorm.
Gene, I have the senior citizen here of this group, about 94 years young, so you were head of a construction crew, Willard Wingard.
Correct. I've done a lot of clearing and burning, clearing the biggest and every. And when that was completed, I was shifted to the spillway, cleared the spillway completely. And then when that was over, thing was about sizzling down. I come up on Lake Murray, it was establishing a little malaria control. And I got started with that thing, and I remained there about 6 or 7 years, then turned back to the power company.
And still live on Lake Murray.
Still live on Lake Murray.
And love it.
Never. Nowhere else be the better.
I agree with Mr. Willard. Nowhere else is any better. In fact, they have a bumper sticker out that says, "I'd rather be at Lake Murray."
Especially on a warm summer's day like today, when you can go skiing or fishing or boating like we're doing right now.
But you know, sometimes we get too wrapped up in the fun that you have on the lake, and we forget about all of the energy that is created by this project. In fact, several weeks ago, I had a chance to find out how water generates and makes electricity. when I was taken through the Saluda River Power Station by Bill Lyde, who's the manager of public relations for SCANA, which is the umbrella company of SCE&G. When people drive across the dam, they naturally look to the beautiful sights afforded by the lake. But just on the other side of this enormous earthen structure is the working reason for the lake's existence. Bill, since the early 30s, hundreds of thousands of people have driven on that highway across Lake Murray and really don't understand what's happening where we are right now on this side of the dam. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have?
Possibly the largest, Joe, for Midland's residents is that the lake was built solely for recreation, for boating and swimming. It's a nice byproduct. But the real reason that the dam and all that work was put forth is in this building behind us. This is the powerhouse for Saluda Hydro. It began producing power in December of 1930, and as we stand here today, is still doing the same thing.
And of course, there's another building, and a lot of people think that that's the only power producer over there. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's another misconception. As people drive by the dam, they see McMeekin Station. That's the one with two tall stacks and the coal pile behind it. That's also a generating station, but we use coal to produce power there. And in here at Saluda, we use water power.
All right, so we've been on the waters of Lake Murray, and now we're by the waters of the Saluda.
By the Saluda.
And they created that dam a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Well, I want you to take me inside the hydroelectric plant.
Sure.
I want you to take me where this man has never gone before.
Well, I'm ready.
All right. Inside the plant, the look and the sound of power. And for a kid who used to play with little electric motors, it's exciting for me, and it must be doubly exciting for you. Bill, what we see are 4 generators inside, and then, of course, another one outside. 3 of them are idle, and you're telling me that this one is loafing. Does this mean that the demand is rather slight right now?
Yes, Joe, our generation and all utilities generation is dependent on the demand that customers put on the system. As the demand goes up, as it does in the summer, air conditioning coming on late in the afternoon, we could bring these units on as we needed them. Of course, this is not the only plant we have others. But this is the business end. This is where what happens when you flip the switch starts. If you look across the lake when you pass over the dam and you see the 5 towers out there are 4 small towers. They provide the intake for these 4 original units. The 5th tower, the large tower, provides the water intake for the 5th unit, the one that we talked about being outside. What happens is the water enters those towers, passes underneath the dam, through a pipe, a penstock. Down below us spins a turbine. The shaft that we saw downstairs, connected to that turbine, that spins a generator and we produces energy.
And the technology for generating hydroelectricity has not really changed that much in 60 years.
No, it hasn't.
All right, we're looking at a control room that looks like something out of a 1930 radio station. The controls are rather old looking, but I understand that they do the regulation properly.
Well, I grant you that that they don't look brand new, but they still do the job. This plant can either be controlled from the control room or from downtown by remote control.
And the water of Lake Murray comes through these huge pipes like this and into, in this case, the 5th generator. Now, this is the new kid on the block, so to speak, and it doesn't quite have the character, Bill, that the ones inside had.
You're right. This one was put in the early 70s, and it certainly doesn't have the character, but it has twice the capacity, and we sort of are big on that.
Well, just as long as it gets the job done. Well, Bill, a lot happens between that side of the dam and this side of the dam.
Certainly does. Having used the water to produce the energy, we send the energy across the river, as you see, over to the transmission yard, and the transmission lines carried into our system for the use of our customers. The water then is released through the tail race into the Saluda River, headed towards Columbia and the Broad River and the Congaree, and ultimately forming the Atlantic Ocean.
And you know, a lot of people in the low country think it's the Ashley Cooper.
And they're wrong.
Thank you, Bill Lyde. You've been an excellent
Thank you,
guy.
Joe.
Well, you know, Joe, that day I think that only 1 turbine was turning. Today I think there'd be a few more.
Yes. In fact, the outlook is for above normal temperatures. But you know, Gene, the thing that really amazes me is that the technology has not changed over the years. What worked in 1930 still works today.
Well, Joe, one thing that is going to change is the shoreline of Lake Murray. It's going to look very different in a few months. We'll tell you more about that when we come back.
Capital City Housing, quality homes backed by quality service. With the state's best selection of Horton manufactured homes, we have a variety of floor plans to fit every need and taste. Our experienced sales team will find the home that's perfect for you, and they'll be in touch to see that you stay happy with your home. Clarence Strickland, our president, has over 20 years' experience in the mobile home industry. He will personally supervise every installation to guarantee that your home is safe, comfortable, and properly installed. Capital City Housing, where quality homes are backed by quality service long after the sale.
If your old inefficient air conditioner has you running in circles, you don't have to sweat it anymore, because if you take advantage of the great appliance straight up from SCE&G, you'll notice a pleasant change. Buy a new high-efficiency air conditioner or heat pump. You'll use up to a third less energy to cool your home, and SCE&G will help you with the cost by giving you a rebate of up to $250 per ton on your energy bill. So call your appliance dealer today and take advantage of the great appliance straight up from SCE&G. You'll find the pace a little easier to live with.
In a couple of months, the more than 500 miles of shoreline of Lake Murray will look a lot different from what it does right now. In fact, SCE&G already has started to lower the water levels.
Well, you know, this might be a good time to get a metal detector and find out what's out there. To find out more about the lowering of the water levels on Lake Murray, Joe and I talked to Christina Massey, who is a senior engineer with SCE&G, and we asked her exactly why the work is being done at this time.
We have discovered cracks in the intake towers and excuse me, done a lengthy inspection, and as a result of that, we found out that we've got to grout those cracks. It's going to be epoxy pressure grouting. It'll just seal them up so water can't get into the towers through the concrete.
Is this the first time since the dam's construction that this kind of work has had to be done?
Yes, the towers are 60 years old, same as the rest of the project, and no major maintenance has been done on them in that time.
Christina, how much lowering is going to take place?
The total drawdown will be to elevation 345, but during the month of August we'll only get down to about 354. The lake's going to be not much lower than normal. Most of the drawdown will take place in September.
So recreational purposes are not going to be interfered with that much, are they?
We don't think so.
All right, now when you get down to the lowest point, property owners are going to have a chance to do some policing up and cleaning up, aren't they?
Yes, anybody that has a dock or boat ramp or anything of that sort is a golden opportunity for them to repair, do whatever maintenance they need to be done. But they need to check with SCE&G's land department before they do it to make sure that they aren't doing anything that is against the rules.
Okay. Christina, how long will the water be really low?
We'll be down at elevation 345 from October the 1st to about November the 15th. After that, it depends on how much rain we get.
Well, you know, Lake Murray is lower during the fall than it is in the summer anyway, but this year it'll be about 6 feet lower than anyone's ever seen it before.
Well, as you said earlier, it would be a good time to get a metal detector and start looking for those artifacts like lost sunglasses and watches.
Right. You know, this area is rich in history. And one thing that I didn't realize until we started our Salute to Lake Murray series is that Lake Murray played a strategic role in the war effort during World War II. In fact, there's one island just a few miles from here that received its name from that war effort.
One island on Lake Murray stands out from the rest. Its trees are not as tall. The foliage is not as dense. Although it's quiet and peaceful now, it bears scars from a violent past. During World War II, this island was used as a bombing range to train pilots for combat. B-25 bomber planes were most often used in training, but Captain Roger Rodarmer of the Army Air Corps came to Columbia to train on a new plane, the A-26. I recently toured Bombing Range Island with Roger Rodarmer, who's now a retired Major General.
Well, General, welcome back to Bomber Island. I understand that this is the first time you've actually been on the island, although you flew over a number of times. How long ago was that?
Well, it was early 1945, so it's been 45 years ago.
Good.
And this is quite an emotional feeling, really, coming back now and being on this island.
Oh, it was strategically very important to train bomber missions back during World War II, but I understand that your unit was a little bit different because you were all trained combat pilots when you got over here.
Yes, we redeployed from the European theater at the latter part of World War II. We were one of the first units redeployed back here and re-equipped with a new airplane called the A-26 Invader. And we came here in early 1945, transitioned into that new airplane, and in doing that, the pilots learned how to fly it. But one of the most important things we had to do is learn how to drop bombs out of it and strafe and shoot rockets and do all those good things, because that's what you get paid for in a war. And here on this kind of target range is where the pilots and the bombardiers and the crews get their training updated to a point where you're combat ready again.
Now, I understand you did a lot of low-altitude bombing on this album. They call it skip bombing?
Yeah, skip bombing. We did two kinds. We had medium-altitude bombing, is where the bombardiers come in at 8,000 to 10,000 feet, and you drop bombs on a target, just like you're a shooting target, and you try to get the bombardiers so that they get the target, they hit the target.
And you're pretty accurate, too.
Well, you try to get it as accurate as you can get. But that kind of bombing is not quite as accurate as what we call low-altitude bombing or skip bombing. Skip bombing is where an individual airplane flies the target very close to it, releases a bomb, bounces the bomb into the side of the target. And you had those kinds of targets here on the island, as well as the traditional kind where you drop bombs on.
I'm fascinated by the fact that you can still see remnants here. Is this a shell casing, General?
Yeah, this is an old carcass. Looks like a carcass of an old 100-pound bomb, which was the, and that's the bomb shackle fit right on that, and that fit into the bomb bay. This is a carcass of this 100-pound training bomb. It was usually painted blue. It weighed 100 pounds. It was filled with sand, but it had a black powder charge in the back of it, so that when it hit, the charge went off and a little puff of white smoke came up, so that the folks keeping the score could measure how far away that was from the center of the target. So that's how they kept score on it, and that's how they qualified the crews.
So you didn't really use any full bombs?
Oh, no. We didn't use live bombs out here. It'd be a little too dangerous flying around with live bombs in it, because sometimes they fall out in the community. And of course, this was an ideal place because you had a clear area to come approach with nobody living around it. So if you did drop a bomb out early, it didn't hurt anybody.
Now, General Road Armour and his crew were experienced pilots when they took off for their mission to Okinawa, but most of the bomber crews were just out of flight school, and they trained aboard the B-25s that took off from the old West Columbia Army Air Base.
You know, Joe, a few of those pilots missed the target, and you can still see holes on the side of Bombing Range Island.
And Jimmy Doolittle's crew trained here before they took off on their mission that was immortalized in the book and the movie 30 Seconds Over Tokyo.
It's a fascinating history. Well, coming up next, we go from the past to the present as we take a look at some up-to-date water ski and jet ski equipment.
You can hear the prices falling at Gibbs. And with monthly payments of only $79.50, you can see the savings. $79.50 a month buys a brand new Mazda. $79.50 a month puts you in a 1990 Volkswagen. Gibbs blows it out and explodes high car prices. Lower your car payment and raise your expectations with a new Mazda or Volkswagen for only $79.50 a month.
I've found that most people who've lost natural teeth would like the replacements to feel like and look like the natural ones. Dental implants can make this possible. Almost anyone who's lost teeth as a result of an accident, gum disease, decay, or is just sick and tired of problems with partial dentures could have what they've lost replaced with dental implants. Step one is to talk to your doctor or dentist to see if dental implants might help.
Certainly one of the favorite sports on Lake Murray is water skiing, and in the old days, learning to water ski was a crash and burn experience, but today, with the skis being made of graphite and fiberglass, it's become a high-tech sport.
Let's take a look now at a water ski demonstration by some of Lake Murray's best skiers. Our commentator is Scott Porter, and he is a retired water ski champion.
This is a boat O right here. He's going to go completely around the boat.
Wow.
Whoa! Hold on. All right.
that takes a lot of coordination between the driver and the skier.
Between the driver and the skier.
Gene, have you water skied?
Joe, I can barely get myself up, I'll tell you. It takes a great deal of upper body strength. Scott, what are they going to do for us now?
All right, what he's performing right now is a series of cuts and turns similar to what it would be like running to a slalom course tournament. He's running at boat speed of about 36 miles an hour, and when he makes that cut, he accelerates to close to 70 miles an hour. That takes a lot of upper body strength and a lot of arms.
And a great sense of balance.
A great sense of balance.
Well, Scott, something's happening that I have never seen before. What is this gentleman going to do?
Okay, what Dean's going to do here is perform a flying barefoot start, hopefully. And he's ready to do it right now, I believe. Signal your boat and let's take off. This is a very crazy trick.
Oh.
Wow!
Wow.
What's happening now?
Okay, this is, we're going to put 3 people out on the barefoot boom. Having a little trouble getting out there?
I can't imagine one of them going out there.
Oh, we lost one here.
If you go down there.
Well, Scott says that the boom on the side of the boat makes it much easier to learn how to slalom ski.
Well, I think there's something else that's a little more up my alley. It's called the personal watercraft, or jet ski, and I think most people are familiar with the stand-up one-person jet ski. Well, Gene and I tried out the deluxe 3-seater sedan.
And we had personal instruction from Wayne Wilkes, who's the owner of Columbia Yamaha Suzuki. What do you need to tell us about this? What do we do?
This safety lanyard we was talking about is actually hooked to the machine and then to the individual. So we'll take this and hook it down here on the dashboard, and then if it actually has a situation where it needs to come off, it will pop off and kill the power of the machine. So we'll put it back on, and then we'll hook it to Joe's personal watercraft vest. Put it right here, and then it will stay attached to him while he's operating the machine.
Now, in renting this, you do demand that they wear a
yes,
life
anytime
preserver.
we allow people to demonstrate this unit, we always do. It's required that all boats, and this is personal watercraft, is a Class A inboard boat. We request that everyone do wear personal flotation devices.
How do you stop it and start it?
Okay, it has no brakes, just like a boat, so it's a matter of letting the machine come back to an idle. So on this machine, we have a throttle, which is over there at Joe's right hand. Then to stop the machine, we have a stop button here. And then to start it on the dash is a little black button, which Joe will push, and that will crank the machine up.
Okay.
You ready to go?
I'm ready,
you
Joe.
Hold on to this?
No, I'll think I'll have you hold on to this.
Okay. All right, Joe, the little black button down there, a little bit of gas.
Right. Ready? Now, wasn't that fun?
Yes, but a little surprising. Shall I tell the folks what happened, or do you want to, Mr. Speedy Gonzalez?
Well, I'd taken it out by myself. I'd never been on a water ski, a jet ski like that before. And you got on the first time. And I was going a little too fast around a turn, and I didn't keep the throttle open, and the wake that I had created, and I think you leaned the wrong way, too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Blame it on me.
But anyway, we flipped over. But let me tell you what happened. I was wearing, as you, the personal flotation device, the vests which are required, the lanyard which was attached to my vest and to the ignition, pulled out, the vehicle stopped, we flipped it back over, got on, except this time you were driving.
Yes, I made sure we got back into port safely. Well, you know, Joe, safety is the key word when you're talking about the lake. There have been some unfortunate accidents that have taken place recently. Some perhaps have happened because of drinking, others perhaps because of a lack of common sense. We were at the Lake Murray Marina recently, and we talked with David Allen. He is an education officer with the Congaree Power Squadron, and we asked him about rules to observe when you're operating a boat?
There are some pretty standard rules of the road that apply not only within South Carolina, but anywhere in the world. The ultimate rule is do what's necessary to avoid a collision, but in general, anybody that is to your starboard or to your right has the right of way, and you are to yield to that person. There are others. The most common rule is just plain use common sense. I saw this weekend a woman in a panic jump out of a boat, 2,000-pound boat, to push off a 6,000-pound boat with the engine running. People are lucky. Nothing happened. There wasn't even any damage to the boat, but there was a tremendous possibility for a horrible injury or death.
David, through the Congaree Power Squadron, I'm sure you address all sizes and types of boats that we see here at the marina. What do you tell different people? Say a pontoon, are there some rules of the road that go with that?
The rules, apply equally to all craft. The rules of common sense change a little bit. You've got an open ski boat, you have to treat children differently. It's much easier to fall out. If you have rails on a pontoon, and so you can allow them a little more latitude. One thing that I harp on continuously is that you need children on board. They should wear the personal flotation device at all times. I'm an adult. I can make that decision as to whether or not it's intelligent or, the situations dictate wearing one or not. Children can. And we tell parents to make it a game. We have one of our members who has a small child that says the kid can't go on the boat unless he's got his coat on. So he puts on his little personal flotation device, and he's safe.
Common sense and courtesy will go a long way in preventing accidents and make for safe boating.
And it's something that we could all keep in mind. Well, the Southern Patriot is continuing to move along Lake Murray. And when we come back, we're going to show you one of the most spectacular homes on the lake.
There's no place like home, especially with the aroma of home-baked cakes filling the air. And there's no better cake anywhere than a cake baked with Adlu flour. It's a South Carolina tradition. Thank heavens, some things never change. Allen Brothers Milling still making flour with the same care and quality as they did 62 years ago. Good old Southern cooking with Adlu, one of the great legacies of our Southern way of life. Adlu flour, milled fresh daily.
Whether you like to make a splash or just hang out at the lake, slip into something comfortable. Night Harbor, the residential community on Lake Murray with a private marina. Located in Lexington School District 5 off Phoenix Ferry Road near Chapin, Night Harbor is ideal for families and offers all the advantages of city conveniences. If you've ever dreamed of living on the water, contact your realtor or visit Night Harbor, Lake Murray's best address for boaters.
We certainly hope that you're enjoying this special Carolina Today salute to Lake Murray aboard the Southern Patriot, captained by the one and only Joe Agnew. And Jean, are you enjoying this as much as I am?
Oh, I've had a great time on the Southern Patriot. I've seen so much of Lake Murray that I've never seen before. And one thing that you can't help but notice is all the beautiful real estate and the gorgeous homes on the lake. But I have to admit, there's one home that stands above the rest.
When you first see Brantley Manor, it's as if a piece of old England dropped onto the shores of Lake Murray. Built in the English Tudor style, the main house has 13,000 square feet. And if that's not enough room, there's also a guest boathouse with an additional 3,000 square feet. Electronically controlled entrance gates open into the 4¼ acre property, which includes tennis and basketball courts, and even Tudor-style brick dog houses. Brick is the key word here. Brantley Manor was designed to showcase the many uses and shapes of brick, and more than 400,000 oversized bricks went into its construction. The vast scale of the project was not a problem for the owner, Gene Brantley. He also owns Carolina Ceramics, a brick manufacturing firm in Columbia. Gene's awe-inspiring home is the culmination of a 20-year dream.
I've dreamed of this place for over 20 years, but my dream was 4 bedrooms and 3 baths. I certainly didn't envision what we wound up with. This was the imagination of my designer that came up with the house as it is.
You've been collecting pictures of houses that you liked for years. So how did the design of this particular house come together?
Bill Huggins, who's a very dear friend and who's now deceased, was a board member, recommended that I go to Alan Marshall, my designer. I'd never met him, but I took a stack of photographs with notes on the back that had little things I wanted him to look at. We met for an hour, and he said after we were together for an hour, he knew exactly what I wanted. And he's just got a fantastic imagination.
The interior of Brantley Manor continues the English Tudor theme. The Great Hall has a 26-foot ceiling with solid mahogany walls and beams. The impression overall is that of a gracious country home. Like Tudor homes of the past, there are even secret passageways hidden behind bookshelves that lead to 3rd and 4th floor rooms. The day-to-day running of Brantley Manor is the job of the estate manager, Frank Houston. He also coordinates the numerous charitable functions that are held on the property.
We open the house up to civic organizations and fundraisers so that the community can enjoy this house. If you have something like this and don't share it, I think you're making a serious mistake. And we've been very privileged to see the community enjoy it. And what we do require is that each person that tours the house contributes $5 per person to the Upstage Children's Theater, which is my charity. I'm chairman of the board and president, and helped Betty Herring found the theater, and I love it very much. But we have functions. We average functions of at least 2 a week here at this time. Then on the weekends, 1 day of each weekend, we open it up to individuals, families, to be allowed to tour the house.
Although the house looks finished right down to the last detail, Gene hopes it will never be completed.
It's something I always will want to be working on. If you ever completed something like this, I think you'd get bored. You'd feel like that, is that all there is? I don't want it to be complete. I don't think it ever will. There'll always be something I'll be wanting to do to it.
Gene, did you notice anything the house needed to be really complete?
Not a thing, Joe. It looked very complete to me. You know, I would be happy just to spend a weekend in the guest house. There's everything you can imagine right there, much less spending time in that huge mansion. You know, Gene Brantley did mention that the house is open for tours, and if you're interested, you can call Brantley Manor at 732-1470.
Coming up next.
Lake Murray living the way it was meant to be enjoyed. Spectacular deep water views greet you each day. A recreational lifestyle second to none, with amenities you expect from Columbia's newest country club community. Plantation Point, only 33 minutes from Columbia, only 30 seconds from the lake. The home of your dreams, the lifestyle you deserve. Discover Plantation Point, the last great lake address.
Guess what's back at McDonald's? That tangy pork barbecue McRib sandwich.
Well, that's not all. You didn't mention McChicken. It's here to stay.
A sandwich like McRib won't come along every day.
McChicken's so delicious it'll never go away.
You're just talking because you love McChicken.
Seems you kind of dig McRib.
So let's bring it all together with a Coca-Cola sip.
Food, folks, and fun.
Now get a McRib sandwich or a McChicken sandwich for only $1.89 each plus tax.
Development on Lake Murray has come a long way since the 1950s. Recently, Gene and I went to Plantation Point, a full amenities development that really took off in the 1980s. And by full amenities, I mean water, beautiful homes, golf, tennis, all those nice things.
We talked to Leonard Jackson, who's a representative of Plantation Point, and also to Wyman Boozer, who was one of the first realtors to start developing Lake Murray. Mr. Boozer, you were involved with lakefront development development as far back as the early 50s?
Early 50s, yes.
Okay, quite a different game at that
Quite a bit.
time.
I come along when people were still poor, didn't have much money.
$1,000 an acre, huh?
$1,000 lots was very common on the point, and even $500 if you wasn't out on the real big waters, by $500, and then there wasn't no sale.
Well, now who was buying at that time?
Well, most of your people was buying. I mean, not the richer people that didn't want to come to Lake Murray, but people like to fish mostly, because skiing hadn't even been taken up hardly yet, and little light surfboarding. But the largest boat you could get was a 25-horse motor. So you couldn't realize the potentials of Lake Murray back in them days, and people bought it more fishermen than just to get away, a place to hide away or something like that, and they'd buy a lot and they'd put up. You know, our first restriction we put on our subdivisions, two restrictions on it, but these restrictions. No outside toilets, because the still was putting outside toilets up there. Secondly, they couldn't put a school bus body on the lot. But for the live-in, see, because school bus bodies was they buy the school buses, use school buses for about $10 or $15, and they put them to the lake, and that's what they close them up, and is what they live in. That was the two restrictions. We put no school bus bodies and no outside toilet.
Well, where did the lots first start being sold? By the dam?
Not necessarily, no. Some of the first ones we sold was up on the area around the bridges, up 378, easy to get to, and then over out from Hilton and the Chapin area. It wasn't much property for sale in there around the dam. The few people had bought it up, and you just couldn't hardly get a hold of that property now. And ones that had it wouldn't sell it for the prices it was, like $200 an acre back then. See, the waterfront property about $200 an acre.
When did people start buying to live up here full time, do you think?
I would say of any significance would have been about the mid-60s. By the mid-60s, they started buying the nicer lots at about $3,000 to $5,000 and started building nice homes. That's been about the mid-60s.
That sounds like such a bargain.
Well, of course, things have changed.
Things have changed. You know, that seemed to be high then, but now it is a real bargain.
Well, Leonard, I have to ask you, is the American dream of having a lake home still possible?
Yes, it is. I think that's the great thing about Lake Murray, is that Lake Murray's for everybody. That water costs everybody the same. It's just how you get to it. There are developments on this lake, which is a very large developable area that almost any price range can fit into. Even today, you still see the waterfront lots starting around 18 to 20 and going up as high as $500,000. So it's a wide range of different type of property.
We were talking to one of your colleagues, I think Joe Tabor, and he was saying that you take the Charlotte area, Lake Lanier, and you take up around Atlanta's area, and you run into problems where there is no more land. Here at Lake Murray, you have still a lot to develop.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot, but it's not as much as people might think. I think
really?
Mr. Boozer has seen it develop over the years. But one thing that you're finding developing is that there's been so many environmental restrictions put on in development. Developing in the 40s and 50s, you could pretty much do what you wanted to. The 60s, a lot of development on the lake has been septic tanks, wells, and with trying to keep the lake environment proper, you're seeing now more restrictions on water and sewer systems. And the cost starts getting up for development when you get into that.
But it's a good thing. It has to be that way.
That is necessary. It is. With so many people now, when it's just a few septic tanks and things that work, but now you're going to eventually find it's going to all be developed just like one large town, waterfront town, large city. Right. And if you don't control it now, then you're going to have real problems later with it. So I wouldn't even attempt to develop a small development now on Lake Murray without having sewer and water completely.
And you said that the Department of Health and Environmental Control is really doing a good job in policing things.
They're really doing a good job policing. They're covering it real well, so I don't think the people have anything worried about the lake getting polluted yet.
So what do you think the next 20 years will bring?
Wow.
Well, one thing certain, they're going to be a lot higher than they are now. So if you're younger people, you think you want one for your old age to retire, you better get it now. Don't wait, because it's going up very fast.
We get two questions from people who've been looking at the lake for a number of years, and it's they come in and the first thing they say is, "I can remember when, and I wished I had."
Right. I said the same thing. In '63, I could have bought a lake lot up at the dam for about $10,000.
That's right.
But I think on lake developing, a lot of people seem to think the lake's peaked out. I'm too late. I think that the boom is yet to come.
I wish I had. I wish I had.
It's not too late, Joe. I think Leonard is right. The boom
on Lake Murray has only just begun.
But you know, along with that boom comes a lot of worries about the ecology of the lake. We talked to Gene Hayes, a fish biologist with the South Carolina Wildlife and Marine Resources Division, and we asked him about his concerns on the future development of Lake Murray.
Well, our biggest concerns is the loss of habitat. As a biologist, particularly my concern is the loss of what we call shoreline habitat, like you see behind us here, which is characterized in Lake Murray and by the black willow and buttonbush areas that are found along the undeveloped areas of the lake. These areas provide excellent feeding areas, spawning areas, and nursery areas for many species, particularly the three primary sport fish in Lake Murray are bluegill, shellcracker, and largemouth bass, which utilize these areas quite heavily. Our department is working with DHEC, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Water Resources Commission, to develop with South Carolina Electric and Gas a lake management plan to ensure that future development on Lake Murray is compatible with our environmental concerns so that we'll make sure that these areas are protected and that it will continue to support the sport fishery we've grown accustomed to knowing down here.
Right, and continue to be the lake that we enjoy so much.
Gene, in about 15 seconds, what are your true feelings about Lake Murray? You're on it so much, and I'm sure there's a love affair there.
Well, I love the lake because of the sport fish it supports, and I think we all will agree that that's probably one of the things that has made Lake Murray so attractive to development and to vacationers, and it supports so much of the local economy. And when I go fishing, this is one of the lakes I am biased though, since it is my lake.
Well, Gene is not the only one who loves to go fishing on Lake Murray.
Righto. And you know, Gene's department every year stocks Lake Murray with 1.5 million striped bass fingerlings.
That ought to make striped bass fishing pretty good in these parts. Coming up next on our special salute to Lake Murray, we're going to meet a woman who makes her living reeling in the striped bass.